Hello and welcome. I'm Danette Kubanda, and joining me today for a very special interview is Dr. Sheila Patel. She's a licensed practicing psychiatrist for over 25 years, working with children and adults. She chose to retire at the age of 51, but during the pandemic, with an increased incidence of mental health issues, she decided to write 3 books, including Us Unhinged, as she felt it was imperative for all Americans to recognize problems, take responsibility for healing themselves, and change the destiny for future generations. Thank you so much for being with us, Dr. Sheila.
Thank you, Danette, for inviting me.
So why has there been such an increase in mental health issues since 2020?
The current Surgeon General really pinpointed 2 main issues that have given a rise to this uptick in mental health problems. One is loneliness, and the other one is social media influence on all the generations, really, not only the young, but also the middle-aged and the elderly.
Oh my goodness. So what gave rise to these problems?
One of the things that really caused problems was during the pandemic, and that happened because of the closure of people not being able to get out, the freedoms that they lost. A lot of people lost their livelihood, small businesses closed down, the mothers had to stay home, and they were being overwhelmed with having to school the children. And so really, so many different things influenced. And what did people do? They referred to the social media, they turned to it, and they started getting the headline news. People have short attention spans, so they just look at the headlines. They don't look at what the full story is. There was a lot of anger and frustration that came about with it. And then in the last 4 years, let's face it, the political situation in this country has become fairly toxic because Americans are like the family. And the 2 political parties are like the parents. Now, if the parents are constantly fighting, the family is going to be unhappy. And when the family is unhappy and the problems become really overwhelming, then it gives rise to a lot of anxiety, depression, hopelessness, helplessness. And then a lot of the people resort to suicide. And so it's just builds one on the other.
What age groups would you say are most at risk?
The people that are mostly affected, the men are especially over the age of 35 that have been committing more suicide. For females, it's over the age of 24 because some of their reproductive rights have been stalled. And unfortunately, they're losing their freedoms. So what happens if they find themselves in that situation? Then they become more helpless and hopeless. For the elderly, they get lonely, and the highest uptick of suicides has been in the elderly and lonely men, and they resort to suicide by gunshot wounds.
Goodness, that's terrifying. What are some simple things people can do to help themselves if they're feeling this way?
One of the things that I always say is unhealthy minds make unhealthy choices. So when you are so consumed with your anxiety and depression, you don't see a way forward. And so you have to reach out. You have to reach out to get help. If people around you notice that you're not doing as well, whether it's at work or it's in your home life, you're getting more withdrawn, then they need to ask and get the help you need. We are far from the asylums and mental health institutions of the past. We have the help we need. You can reach out to the new number 988, which was launched in July of 2022. And they've had over 7 million calls since that launch. They've had over 750,000 text messages. They've had over 500,000 chats. And so there is help. So the main thing is reach out. Remember, it's not rare. You can get better from it. And you certainly can realize that there is help available if only you ask for it.
Oh, I think that's such important takeaways. You're not alone and people care.
Right, exactly.
Thank you so much for sharing all of this. To learn more about Dr. Sheila, her books, and all of her projects, please visit her website at drssheilapatel.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Danette. Appreciate you.